Jesse, just kind of give us your background with the Marine Corps and that transition into the Coast Guard.
Yeah. So got out of high school 2012. My mom's like, "You're going to college," and I'm like, "No,
I'm not."
So I
love you, Mom, but no.
Yeah, I went to college for a year, if that, and I was like, "All right, I'm out of here. Peace." Yeah. Joined the Marine Corps. Best decision I ever made. Did 4 years active duty, stationed out in Hawaii, so can't really complain.
Oh, that's great.
I was a Mortarman, so I was the 81 millimeters. I'm not sure if you guys are like knowledge of that, but yeah, so 81s. Did 2 deployments to Japan. First one was on ship for like 5 months. Went to like Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, Guam, Hong Kong. Just trained with all those countries. You know, just doing what they do best and what we do best. And that was fun. That was really a huge eye opener, you know, like to see what countries go through.
See the world, yeah.
See the world, yeah. And honestly, yeah, to see the world is a big one. And then our next deployment was kind of the height of the Korean conflict when they're like, yeah, we're going to, you know, fuck around and find out.
It's crazy, man.
And so we were stationed at like, it's called Warrior Base. It's like a small army base, like right on the border of the DMZ. Mm-hmm. It's like 100 meters south of it. Yeah. And
you're right on top of it.
Yeah. So we were out there. It was just our section and then like an infantry, like an 11 company. So we were out there training with like the army and kind of just doing stuff, kind of just on the perimeter, like letting them know that like, hey, we're there. But like, if you guys want to try anything. So that was pretty cool. But you know, at some point it was like, hey, like you may or may not go. So, and that was the last deployment. Got out, tried to go back to school. And that's another thing too. You know, you get out of the Marine Corps military and you're like, well, fuck, what do I do? I'm going to go back to school, use my GI Bill.
Use the GI Bill, yeah.
And it's a culture shock. Like you said, you know, like you just did 4 years of your life training to defend your country, and then you're like back in school with all these people and they have no fucking clue what's going on.
Failing every test.
Yeah. Well, yes, I have some experience with that, just with people that have worked for me or with me. This is what I've been told kind of multiple times. Very frustrating to be sitting in a classroom with people that are, you're the older person in the room generally because you're starting at the beginning, right? Yep. You know, in terms of your curriculum. So it's like that general ed shit. So whatever that is for you, you know, whatever course of study you're going down, you know, you're 21, 22, 23 years old at this point, and you're sitting in a room with a bunch of 18-year-olds that, you know, in a lot of cases are privileged, and that's why they're there. And when I say privileged, I just mean they have the opportunity and they haven't ever had a job, right? And they haven't ever had to work super hard for anything. They've certainly never been in a situation where their life could be threatened or be put on the line, and they haven't really put on their big girl or the big boy pants yet. Yeah. And so you're sitting there looking around going, this is not me. Like, where am I? Those are the stories that I've been told. And then it kind of creates maybe an angst to the conversations that you might start hearing around you that are completely, you know, one-sided or let's just say uninformed, to where it could be a really tough environment to be in. Sticking it out could probably be one of the most painstaking things you might ever have to do.
For sure. I don't know, like we don't really talk about politics, but like I'm not going to dive into it, but I took a poli-science class because I had to. And it was like, you can totally tell like stuff that they just like read and hear, like, and what they don't know. Right. So we were talking about the military, for example. This was 2018. So this is kind of, I don't know when it was like Syria was going on, right? Like the whole thing with Syria. Yeah. And I had buddies still in the Marine Corps that were like still deployed to Kuwait and Syria, and whatever she was saying about it, it was just like, you're fucking wrong.
Right.
Like, how are you going to sit here and tell a class of 30 people, you know, your opinion on it, not like the actual facts? So it's just, I was just like, I got to get out of here. Because otherwise I'm going to fight this teacher.
I think that's a normal feeling, man. Like, and I think it goes beyond what you just said. I mean, I think it's the world we're living in right now where we're
yeah, dude. I've heard that story from other people.
It's annoying too, because everybody's like soaking it up, right? And you're like, oh my
They're not back checking anything, but I think the worst part is they're hearing from someone who heard from somebody else who heard from somebody else. It's like that game of telephone.
Yep.
It gets passed from one person to the next person to the next person. And by the time it gets to that last person, who knows what the story is at that point, how factual or, you know, how much salt, pepper, mustard has been put on that thing by the time it gets to you. And for people that may have a little bit more insight because they've either been on the front line literally or have spent time doing a little bit of fact checking for reals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And talking with both sides and seeing kind of both sides of it, having a little bit of a tough time with people's opinions when they can't be substantiated or supported by anything outside of an emotional reaction to something, or, you know, an Instagram post.
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress. All right. So you got out of the Marine Corps and tried school for a little bit. That ain't happening. And then the Coast Guard?
Yeah. So yeah, I got out 2018, went to school. It was nice getting, the GI Bill paycheck every month. That was nice.
Sure.
Highly recommend that.
Yeah. Well, you earned it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was getting bored. I was working. I started with her in 2019.
Her, the dog.
The dog.
Whip.
Yeah. Whip. In 2019. So I was just like, man, I'm like in the same rut, like I was before the Marine Corps. And I was like, I don't want to be like this again. Like I want to go back to what I was doing, So I was this close to going back in the Marine Corps. I'm glad I didn't. But I was like, I got out for a reason. Why would I go back to that same hellscape that I was prior? So I was going to go in the Air Force. And I don't know what changed me. I was just talking to some family members that had like friends that were in the Coast Guard for like 20, 30 years. And I'm like, I love my life. I'm like, I've never heard a bad thing about the Coast Guard. Like everybody loves their life, either retired 4 years, 10 years, or like, I had a great time. And I was like, cool, Coast Guard it is. So I like walked my happy ass over to the Alameda Coast Guard recruiter office. And I was like, sign me up, just get me in. I don't care where. Just
So were they happy to take you guys? I mean, is this fairly easy transition given your previous backgrounds coming in, or is this kind of one of those things where, I mean, the Coast Guard isn't a massive agency or branch, right? It's not huge. Mm-hmm. It's big enough, but I imagine for those that want to be in it, maybe is the selection process a little maybe tougher than something else?
It's about the same. It's actually the same to get into any branch as it is to get in the Coast Guard. But I think about like 10 years ago, there was actually like a year or two wait to get into the Coast Guard because people were like, I want to get into the Coast Guard. It's starting to like up and come. People are kind of starting to understand like what goes on in the Coast Guard. And so that was a huge thing. It was like, well, yeah, you can join, but you're not going to go for like a year or two. And you're like, well, I'd rather just go to the Marine Corps where it's like 5 months wait,
Okay.